This is a presentation of NorthEast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel here, and you're watching Started Up Live on NorthEast Streaming Sports on Roku and the NorthEast Streaming Sports channel on YouTube. And I welcome my co-host, the Philly sports guy, Jamie Page.
Good morning.
We get so wrapped up in talking about stuff, we missed the start of the show, so we apologize for being a couple minutes late.
I know everybody was waiting with bated breath.
I'm sure, but you got a couple more bites of your Fruit Loops while you waited for us, and, gives you great anticipation. The world of sport. Listen, Major League Baseball, we're going to have some great races here. Races are tightening up, as we'll talk about this morning. Some injury news to talk about. We got some interesting stories in football, a little bit of basketball news, some college sports. We'll see where we go. Let's roll. Hey, anything that we should know about for the Philly sports guy this morning before we jump into the world of Major League Baseball? What's new and how did Philly practice go, or should we save that for the football?
Why don't we save that for football a little bit? It was fun. It was my first time being there. I went there as Jamie rather than the Philly sports guy. They asked why. So
Why?
Well, they're not used to seeing me without face paint. So
who are you?
They're but it was interesting that some of the Eagles employees, not necessarily the players, obviously, but the employees recognized me without face paint.
Oh, that's cool. Well, maybe they're catching you, when you're in your Jamie persona on this show, the Mac and Jack show, and your own shows.
Yeah.
So, there's a whole different person here that, as we found out on this show in the last 6 weeks or whatever it might be. So,
right.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into the world of baseball. Then we'll get to some more football news. Yesterday on the scoreboard, the Phillies bats come alive yesterday. 11-4, they win over the Reds. Kyle Gibson gets the win. He's pitched not too bad, but he's been a decent starter for the Phillies most of the year. The Phillies do get their 10,000th franchise win yesterday.
I was telling you about that. I knew it was coming. It was coming, and today it was, the day. Or yesterday was the day. So congratulations to them. They've only lost 11,000 and change. So it's they have a total of 0.460, winning percentage. It would only take them another decade before they could possibly break to 500.
They were the last of the original National League franchises to reach 10,000, I think I saw. And interestingly enough, there's only one American League team over the 10,000 win mark. And you can probably guess who that is. They haven't had any of them in the last month, but it's the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
So interesting, they're not that far up. For all the world championships we have, they're not that far up the win, the number of wins. I think win percentage, they might be number one, but wins themselves, they are not. Do you know who the leader is?
I would guess it would be maybe the Atlanta Braves.
They are fifth. The San Francisco Giants, with 11,301 wins, are the number one franchise in wins in Major League Baseball.
I guess that goes back to the New York Giants, I assume.
Sure. And the Dodgers are number two as well. So back there to Los Angeles. Cubs are third. The Cardinals are fourth. The Braves, the Reds, and then the Pirates, and then the Yankees and Phillies. So anyway, congratulations to the Phillies. It's still a monumental achievement, I think, to get that. You got to last a long time at least to get there.
Yeah. Hey.
And one of the few teams on that list that have been in the same place the entire time.
Yes. We've been here for 120 years, and it's not necessarily the best, 120 years, since we've only had two titles to really be really excited about. But
well, that percentage is a little low, but at least you get every 60 years or something to get excited about. So,
Well, I mean, you think about how Boston Red Sox went 100 years between championships, and
still shocking. Then they got it rolling pretty good once they finally won one.
yeah,
And we'll talk a little bit about the Red Sox too. There's a few teams that I've been trying to bury, it seems, for a month now, and I just can't seem to do it. They keep fighting back. Elsewhere yesterday, the Marlins beat the Padres. Padres have lost 2 in a row, and again, they're now 17 games out of first place and barely holding on to the last wild card spot. Nick Fortes hits 2 solo home runs for the Marlins in this game, and they win this game 4-3 over the Padres yesterday. They keep hoping for October, but it's sneaking up on you guys. The Red Sox, who I've tried to bury, now still only 4 games out of that wild card spot with a win yesterday over the Pirates 5-3. They crawl within 1 game of 500. So one of the teams that I mentioned I keep trying to kill, hanging on by a thread at least. One of the games that you would have had to pay to go to, or pay you to go to, would be the Cubs and Nationals yesterday. The Cubs beat the Nationals 7-5. Patrick Wisdom with a double in the 11th to propel the Cubs in this game. The Rays and the Yankees. The good news here is the Yankees scored a run. The bad news is they lost the game 3-1 because that's the only run they got. Randy Arozarena hits an early home run, a 3-run homer to propel them. Really the only mistake Nestor Cortes made in this game. But Yankee, if you're not going to score any runs, you're not going to win games. And the Yankees continue to struggle. The Rays, on the other hand, have gotten hot, won 4 in a row, and have gotten the lead under double digits. This would be a colossal collapse if this were to happen. We're not close to it yet, but
you're a lot closer than you think.
Yeah,
with the way that this is going right now, it's a mess.
Well,
and it's maybe it's exactly what you need to get rid of the coach.
A lot of talk about, again, Boone's decision making here in the last few weeks, especially. It's not going to happen during the regular season, but if they flame out in the playoffs, I don't see how they can not make a move. But
the way they're going right now, there's still enough time that they could not be in the playoffs.
There is a chance because, again, to your point, they've got a lot of games in the division. And everybody in the division is playing much better baseball than them. We talked about the Rays. The Blue Jays are playing better baseball. We know what the Orioles have been doing. They won again yesterday. They're only a half game out of the wild card right now. So every night, and these teams are gunning for them too. That's the thing. The Yankees get all the ink, even though they haven't won it forever. They still are the team people like to beat.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you claim to be that team. Let's. What did Benintendi do to you yesterday?
Yesterday, Benintendi. Let's see. He was quickly 2 for 3 yesterday. So we got another.
He had a good day yesterday.
Benintendi. Problem is, the rest of the team got 2 hits as well.
Oh yeah.
Even Judge drops under 300 last night as he was 0 for 4.
Well, I'll wait to finish the scores before I go over my Gallo update.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll have one. I do know he played last night.
Yes, he did play.
So I didn't look at the box score because I'd like to leave that for you to surprise me. Oh, gosh. Elsewhere in the American League East, the aforementioned Orioles win 4-2 over the Blue Jays. Cedric Mullins and Adley Rauschman, who's been a godsend for this team at catcher and really helped his pitching staff. They both go deep in this game. And the Orioles just aren't going away. As I said, a half game now out of the last wild card spot, which belongs to, I believe, the Mariners right now. It's a very tight race for that top spot, too. The Tigers beat the Guardians 4-3 yesterday. The Guardians' lead shrinks to 1 game in the Central over the Twins. The Mets, it's very funny how the Mets dominated the Braves a couple of weeks ago in back-to-back, well, not back-to-back series, but bookend series. And the Braves are now returning the favor as they've outscored the Mets 18-1 in the last 2 games. They win 5-0 yesterday. It seems immortal Carl Morton continues to baffle teams late. He's one of the best late season pitchers baseball's had in playoff pitchers in the last couple of seasons. He just seems to come out and throw bullets. and he beats the Mets easily yesterday, 5-0. That lead has shrunk back to 3.5. It was just 7 this past weekend. So interesting race here in the National League East as well. The Twins, we talked about moving back within a game of the Guardians. They win 9-0 yesterday. Sonny Gray, there's a name you don't hear all the time. Sonny Gray had some arm injuries earlier in the year after coming over from the Reds. He gets matches his season high with 10 strikeouts, and former Yankee Gio Urshela has 4 hits. Not been very good out there with the Twins, but maybe he'll get hot here at the right time. Twins win 9-0. The Cardinals beat the Rockies 5-4. Paul Goldschmidt and Tommy Edman both homer in this game. Helsey gets his 7th win in this game. And Lamont, who just got picked up by the Rockies, loses this game, and he's ERA is well over 7. Another game you would have had to get paid to go to, the Athletics break a long losing streak against the Rangers and their new manager. They win 5-1. They brought up one of their noted prospects, Langelier. He got 2 hits in his debut last night for the A's, and they released Stephen Piscotty at the same time. So the A's continue their facelift, and they finally get a win. The White Sox are the other team that I keep trying to bury. They've now won 5 in a row, pulled within to, I believe, 1 game of the wild card, and they are 2 games. 1 game only, behind Cleveland. Both Cleveland and the Cleveland leads over both the Twins and the White Sox by just a game. I keep saying they need to get hot and win a playoff series at least, so they'll break this team up. We're approaching September, and the team's getting hot. Mancata, we talked about yesterday, got his 8th. Got the game-winning hit yesterday in the 8th inning, and the White Sox do win another game, 5th in a row. Let's see what happens there. The Brewers knock off the Dodgers, which I know you'll have an update on if you want to jump in here. I know Cody Bellinger set and Joey Gallo played. I left this update for you. The Joey Gallo update is...
Joey Gallo goes 1 for 4 with a home run.
Oh, man.
And he is now a lofty 168. Is it 168 or 169? Might have gone up again. Seems like every time I see this goes up. It's 168.
Closing in on 170 and only 30 percentage points behind the Mendoza line. Not bad when you think about it overall. Actually,
since going to the Dodgers, been batting about 250, 260. So
Joey Gallo hits 250 with home runs. You got a pretty good player. You really do. He just didn't do that in New York. Dodgers got to be happy.
He was unhappy. He's unhappy with just maybe being in New York. Maybe that was the problem. That he was actually happy being there, and everybody was happy with him there. And since he's gone, you guys have won like 2 games out of 25, and he has done nothing but hit home runs.
Somebody should find it. I think what happened is he left his razor somewhere around the locker room, and that's where the jinx is probably stored. So somebody's got to find this razor that they made him shave with every day, because he claims, the beard has been part of the problem. They wouldn't let him have his beard.
No, and guess what? Beard's back.
Damn it. Oh, it's a tough place to play. We talk about Philadelphia and New York being tougher places to play. LA is obviously a big market, but it doesn't seem like it's at least in baseball, it's not the fishbowl that New York and Philadelphia and Boston maybe are. So, do
they even have beat writers for the Dodgers?
Well, I think they do, but who knows? They leave in the 7th inning like the rest of the fans, so they probably don't see the end of games.
Right.
The Mariners beat the Angels 8-2 yesterday. They break up a perfect game in the 6th inning, go on to really roll in this game. Adam Frazier led them. Robbie Ray, the reigning Cy Young Award winner, who's been scuffling around a little bit for Seattle, gets to win 9. He's now 9-8 with just under a 4 ERA. And the Giants, the last team I've been trying to bury for a while, they've won their 5th in a row. and they're just 4 games out of the wild card. So suddenly then they're 2 games over 500, and they've started to find a little bit of momentum. So going to be an interesting race in at least the AL Central, the NL West, the NL Central, and the wild card races are all going to be very interesting, I think, as we come down the wire here.
Well, I think that this is the last surge for some of these teams. I don't think that. First off, I don't believe in the Giants. Interestingly enough, unfortunately, there is more of a belief that I have in the White Sox. When
Yeah, I
you
would
talk
say.
about some of these teams, the White Sox are one of those teams that I think are not going to get buried away. I don't think that the Orioles are going away, especially with the way that they've been taking care of the Blue Jays this week. The Red Sox are toast. You know what I mean? I think that they are done, and I really believe that we are going to be talking about how this was the most monumental collapse of this dynastic. That's a 25-cent word. New York Yankees,
That was a good word.
and they are going to. This is going to start a trend of bad baseball for a little while.
Well, if that's just the case, and this is the conversation we're going to have for the next 6 weeks as this 9-game lead continues to dwindle, you'll be seeing me going from coffee to beer to tequila to all of the above all at the same time, probably during the course of the show.
I can believe it. So, and I tell you, I find it somewhat amusing that it's going to be like the curse of Joey Gallo, and that's going to last for years.
Can we dig a hole and bury him like we buried? What did we bury? We buried Babe. What happened with the curse of the Bambino? They did something. They buried a jersey or something of the Babes to try to break the curse. So maybe that's what they'll have to do with Joey Gallo is dig up a hole and bury him.
Maybe
Just as Razor. I guess burying him would be a little harsh, but
him totally. Yeah, it's like it. Yeah, but maybe they have extra space next to Jimmy Hoffa because I heard he's possibly under Yankee Stadium.
Actually, it's the Meadowlands Stadium that he's the old and it was the last one, the one they tore down. So I'm not sure where he is now. Right. There was always a rumor is that when they built the first Meadowlands Stadium in East Rutherford, that he was in the north end zone of that stadium. So I was there last weekend for a concert, and I don't remember exactly where the old stadium stood there. So I was going to go visit Jimmy, but I didn't have any bearings. So anyway, he might. Yeah,
they do have it marked somewhere on the pavement saying, "Hey, this is where something."
They should have. Yes, they should have. Jimmy Hoffa. When you can get a Jimmy Hoffa reference in, you've done a good job, Pax. Excellent job.
There you go. I'm glad I was able to just sneak that in there.
Listen, a couple other news and notes around Major League Baseball. The Braves and their really exciting rookie Michael Harris II agreed to an 8-year, $72 million extension, continuing kind of a trend with some of these teams to lock up their young guys early. And keep them away from arbitration and such long and free agency longer. He's had a very good year. He's come up just in May, and he's at 287 with 12 homers, 13 steals, and 39 RBIs in just 71 games. So a good move for the Braves, locking up their future star there. Let's see what else is going on here. We talked about Cody Bellinger sitting yesterday. Dave Roberts says he needs a little bit of a reset. Cody Bellinger has just fallen off the map since he was the NL MVP a few years ago. We know his struggles last year. They were Joey Gallo-like. This year he's been a little bit better, hitting 206 with 16 homers and 50 RBIs, but he's been scuffling a lot recently. He gets a night off. It looks like another Yankee reliever, closer Clay Holmes, is headed to the IL with a back injury to go along with your Yankee collapsing story. There you go. The bullpen continues to fall apart. A story we talked about last week, Pittsburgh Pirates Rodolfo Castro gets suspended 1 game for having a cell phone in his pocket during the game. We talked about the video of him sliding in headfirst into second base and his cell phone popping out. Something I have never seen in baseball, obviously, and
Can't say that anymore.
no, cannot say that. Who knows what's going to happen next? The Padres have swapped out Fernando Tatis Jr. bobblehead night, shockingly, for Juan Soto T-shirt giveaway following his suspension. I suppose they could quickly get T-shirts printed up to replace these bobbleheads.
I was going to say they can't just all of a sudden change the plaque on the bobblehead and say, "Hey, it's Juan Soto." They don't look that much alike.
And speaking of Tatis, his father spoke up too and blamed the barber for his suspension. Whatever, he got ringworm from a haircut. He mentioned another drug yesterday, actually, too. It didn't ring a bell with me, but these guys got to just stop talking, let it go away.
Did you hear the story about how this all occurred?
I'd love to hear it.
So he was in AAA. He did a AAA stint, and
he just started rehab. Yeah, right.
And in his first day at AAA, he hit like a double and 3 triples, and they're like, maybe we should test this guy. Busted.
Well, it was a pleasant side effect of something he didn't know he had. So.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey, I always take steroids with my ringworm.
This is 2022. People actually still get ringworm. I thought this was something that was eradicated decades ago, but maybe I'm wrong.
I got to imagine it's still out there. I mean, I hear that dogs have it all the time.
Yeah, well, so we'll be seeing some dogs suspended for steroids pretty soon. Well, a couple other Met notes before we take a quick break here in a little bit. The Mets have called up their number 2 prospect, third base prospect, Brett Batty, as they've had some injury issues. Luis, I can never say this guy's name. I think you say it better than I do. Guillaume. Am I close?
Guillaume?
Guillaume. Is it that all it is? Is Guillaume? There's an R in there. We don't say the R. We don't say the R.
It's I don't know. Maybe Guillaume.
Guillaume.
But
whatever.
Yeah, the Guil is just like Guy.
I got you. Yeah. All right. Guillaume. He goes on the injured list for the groin strain that may sideline for more than a month. Big loss for the Mets, too, because he's played very, very well. And Eduardo Escobar, who's been a disappointment for the Mets, will likely join him with a strained oblique. So you may see Batty playing a lot for the Mets here as we go forward. It'll be interesting to see how he fares. And also with the Mets, Tawan Walker exited yesterday's game with an injury. At the same time, the Mets announced that Carlos Carrasco will miss up to a month after getting injury the night before. So the Mets starting pitching starting to fall apart around Scherzer and DeGrom. Good news for the rest of the NL East and other teams in the National League looking to knock off the Mets at least come playoff time. So that's all I got. Anything you want to add to in Major League Baseball that we have not touched on so far, Pegs?
So there was one of these controversial plays at the plate where Major League Baseball overturned the call of out. There was a play at the plate, and it actually cost the Guardians the game, where they said that he blocked the sliding path. And I'm telling you, this is one of these rules where they need to change it back. I understand that they do not want the collisions at the plate, and that realistically they should go with the slide, give yourself up rule type thing, that you can't just bowl somebody over.
Yeah.
However, you can't have these plays like this. You cannot do this. It looks to me, when I look at this, I'm like, really? They overturned that he was taking away the sliding lane? Listen, if you've got the ball.
This is the Buster Posey rule, right? He got a severe injury, I don't know, it had to be 10 years ago in a game. And, you've been running over catchers for 110 years before that. And how many guys get hurt? Ray Fosse's career got changed in an all-star game when Pete Rose ran him over. But it's part of the game, and I don't, there's not enough. Guys aren't getting killed out there.
Right.
Put the rule back. I agree. Now, because now it's too subjective. Who's blocking a plate, who's not, and
the problem is that the subjective portion is not coming from the guys that are on the field. They called him out. I feel like that it should be very similar to the NFL. That if you want to kind of keep with the call on the field, but they chose not to, and the problem is that something like this, because it's subjective, and they're both, the Detroit Tigers obviously are a mess of a franchise right at this point. But the Guardians are in a playoff hunt, and to remove a run from them or to give the other team a run, which actually winds up costing them the game, it's a big deal. I mean, you could argue and say, hey, listen, at least that they had more opportunity to still get that run back and whatever, and they didn't do it. And I can understand and appreciate that. But, when you are playing this game, runs are premium in every way, shape, and form.
Right. And why can't we let catchers and teams, how they teach their catchers, determine how that play comes out? If you have the wherewithal that you can stand and block that plate with a guy, coming at you at full speed and know you're going to get your ass kicked, excuse my French, then God bless you. Stand there and do it. And if you don't want to,
or worst case scenario, get ready to, to take it. You know what I mean? Put your head down, block the plate. You know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, this guy's going to come and try to ball you over, make sure you're so you got the ball in your hand. You're like, you're ready to do it. I mean, obviously, some of those bang bang plays. Obviously, when the ball's coming in and somebody's going to get bowled over, that's where you kind of don't want to have those types of problems coming on, where somebody's looking the other way.
And the catchers can make a decision not to block the plate in that situation too. You can be, as an organization, you can teach your kids to stand in front of the plate and do a swipe tag. That's the way you want to approach it. But I think you should be able to block the plate if you're either brave enough or stupid enough, to whichever the situation might be.
Because some of this subjectivity comes off of the way that they're running down the line.
Yeah.
So if he feels like that, so if he's on the inside of the line and he's trying to take the inside path and that's what's blocked, it was his decision to run there. He could have ran outside the line and been able to kind of go that way. So it's like those are some of the issues and problems that I see with this rule, that you're forcing a catcher to not understand what it is that he's doing properly. And when you're taking away, because I played catcher, so and there were a couple of times where people tried to run into me, and most of the times when I was blocking the plate, if you tried to hit me, you're the one that went down.
Right.
So, I mean, I understand kind of why they did the rule, obviously, and who cared about Buster Posey really? I mean, he was more of a mouth than anything else, and blah
came
blah
back
blah.
And played fine. I mean, he missed some time, but he came back and played fine afterwards. It's not like his career was ruined.
Yeah, and trust me, he whined and cried. Wah, 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 wah. Come on, you know what I mean? Be a man. You know what I mean? That was the problem. That was the problem with that whole Giants team. They were a bunch of crybabies and whiners.
Well, and this is why baseball players get the reputations they get as being soft, right, compared to football players, let's say. Of course, they're soft compared to football players, but, just in general, they're soft because the rules, we can't have collisions. We can't take guys out at second base anymore. We can't do that anymore either. And so it's led to all of these other things, too, Pags, that are ridiculously they changed the game, the dynamic of the game entirely, and I think it's wrong. So,
well, that the guys that run baseball, they try very hard to do
it. They do. You better, I can't say it even, but that's fine. Let's take a quick. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with some NFL news right after this.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of NorthEast Streaming Sports.
And we are back. Keith Engel with the Philly sports guy, Jamie Paggs. This is Started Up on Northeast Streaming Sports. Welcome back, everybody. Fast-paced first 35 minutes now, so baseball is certainly dominating, as it should this time of year. I like to see baseball still be able to dominate. It doesn't get to dominate as much as it used to, obviously, with the NFL as popular as it is. And speaking of which, we're going to throw it to Paggs here to lead off with some of our NFL news of the day.
So I am going to start off with the fact that yesterday, after leaving the show, and I went and got myself together to go to the Philadelphia Eagles practice. First time ever going to the NovaCare Flex to watch an Eagles practice. And I only got yelled at a couple of times for doing things I'm not supposed to be doing. Of course, there was a lot of people there, and first off, it was really well done in terms by the Eagles themselves, where they fed us. It's like you figure you're going to a practice, you're just going to be standing out there in the heat and watching practice. And no, we had tents, and we got fed, and it was a great time.
Cool.
For everybody that was there. It was a little bit of a spirited practice. Like I said, I did only get yelled at a couple of times. They do not allow you to use your phones after a certain time in practice because they do not want to show any of the plays,
Right.
which I 100% understand on that. And then, of course, there's a lot of people there. And I when I went down to get a closer look on the field, I couldn't really see because I was behind a couple of machines. And, so I started kneeling down because it was open underneath the machine to watch practice. And of course, they told me, no, you can't kneel down because if a ball comes that way, you're not going to be able to get out of the way fast enough. And I'm like, I'm a little bit more, agile than that. But okay, I get it. These guys are only doing their jobs and stuff. But a very exciting practice. It was interesting to kind of see how they go about things and how they do things. And
Was this a combined practice or just Eagles against?
No, the combined practice starts tomorrow with Cleveland.
Okay.
So this was the last practice. This was the last practice that they had at the NovaCare complex, actually.
Oh, they're going to the stadium?
Yeah, they went to. Well, no, they went to. They go to Cleveland and then they go to Miami.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's not. There's no. I'm not sure if it was the last NovaCare complex practice in total. That they opened up to the public. I think it may have been that everything else is like a closed practice at this point once they go. And I know that they're out in Cleveland. They're doing a travel day today, and they, go out to Cleveland for 2 days, and then they have their game on Sunday. And then I think from there, they're going right to Miami to have a practice there at combined practice, and then to play that game. I think it might even be on a Friday or Saturday. I don't know. It's so weird. I'm so used to the Eagles playing on Thursdays for the preseason that playing on a Sunday is a little funny to me.
You never used to see preseason games on a Sunday, but they'll always have one standalone, maybe two standalone games later in the day.
So it's that's. But there were a couple of great catches from AJ Brown, and our third string quarterback is that is a competition that somebody is going to win. I'm not sure
who are
who.
the competitors?
Sinnott. Don't ask me his first name because I do not know that.
Fair
and
enough.
Carson Strong from Nevada.
Okay.
Now, after watching Sinnott play yesterday, I would say that Carson Strong has a little bit more of a chance to make it. When talking about a third string quarterback, I know that sounds really ridiculous. I didn't think Minshew also had a really good practice. Jalen Hurts had better practice than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, AJ Brown looks great. Devontae Adams is, anytime that ball comes close to him, he catches it. So it's, I said yesterday at the practice, you can go look up the video. I said that the Eagles are going to go 11-6.
You did.
And that they are going to go to the NFC Championship game. I've said it here. I said it there. Watch out. Watch out. Jordan Davis is going to be as much of a disruptive force as Micah Parsons was for the Cowboys last year.
That's a big prediction because he was a very, very, very good player for that Cowboy defense. So that would make a big difference for sure.
Yeah.
So some exciting stuff out of Philadelphia. We'll certainly be talking more about them as we go forward. And Philly, there's no better place for Philadelphia information than this guy right here. Just an FYI. I watch all his shows, by the way. If you want to know Philly sports, you got to watch Philly Sports Guy.
Yeah, I do everything that I can to make sure that you are on top and you get the news, as it happens.
And I feel fairly objective as well, by the way. I think you are. I mean, I think when your team stinks, you say your team stinks. So
I'm not a big fan of, hey, listen, I can root as a homer.
Right.
But I need to be able to still be Philly. And trust me, although I may not boo, I can be critical of my team. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that I have them. If everything bounces the right way, they go 13-4. I don't believe that that's going to be the case. I think that it's going to be 11-6. Some people at 10-7. I just can't see 7 losses. I can't find them. I can't find 7 losses because that's what you're trying to do when you do a schedule prediction. You want to find the losses. It's not the wins, unless you're like Jacksonville, and then you're going to where you're finding the wins. But when you're a team that actually wins, you're finding the losses. Where are these losses going to come from? And you give up one where you're not supposed to. You figure out, okay, this is the trap game. Out of all the games that could be, this is going to be a trap game here, and they could lose this game. I firmly believe that the strength of the schedule in the very beginning of the season for the Cowboys, the ease of the schedule for the Eagles, and although they have very similar, schedule ease, like they're ranked 4th and 5th in the entire league. I think that the Eagles wind up winning the division.
Interesting. I think it'll be an interesting cat fight. We'll talk more about maybe we'll have one of these shows as we get closer to season. We're going to spend probably a lot more time on some of those predictions. Maybe as we get closer, we do a division a day or something, and as part of our NFL segment. So we'll start planning that out.
Yeah, I think that works pretty well. Further news. Rodgers is frustrated with his young wide receivers.
Shocking.
I guess he's no longer thinking that his new receiver is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's saying, "Wow, you guys stink." So, and I don't know that he used that words exactly because I am not able to really see the story. But it just says Rodgers frustrated with the Packers' young wide receivers. And this was on top of the fact that he brought a bust of Nicolas Cage into the locker room. So maybe this is the curse of Nicolas Cage.
Here's what he said. The young guys, especially the young receivers, we've got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of bad route decisions, and running the wrong routes. We've got to get better in that area. You're making $50 million a year, and that's one reason you don't have better wide receivers around you. Just an FYI.
Hey, that's not his fault.
Yeah, I know. Take your money and
problem.
shut up.
So
You can have
the fact that he's 25% of the team, the fact that he's
Yeah.
25% of the team doesn't mean that they can't buy. I mean, the citizens of Green Bay deserve better as the owners of this team.
Agreed.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Seahawks lock tested positive for COVID-19 and is likely to miss the first preseason start. So it looks like Geno Smith is going to have the inside track to this since he's already winning it. They were going to give it to Locke, and now it looks like since he's going to miss this start, that Geno Smith is going to be the hands-on favorite to win this job coming out of.
Which, going back to your previous comments, means we need to look at the Seahawks schedule looking for wins.
That is correct. Yeah, it's I wouldn't be surprised if they are not outwardly talking about it, but for whatever the guy's name is that's going to be there.
Yeah.
So Zach Wilson says that, hey, he's gotten some knee surgery, and initially there was reports saying that the season was in jeopardy. But it looks like now he'll be able to play after, he'll be able to play week 1. And, who knows? Sometimes dogs really can heal quickly. And since he's that dog, he's got all that, he told mom, "Hey, Mom, keep the friends away. I got to get healthy." And, maybe that's working out, right up his alley. That's the joke that's never going to die this season. I am every cougar that there is. I want to bring out, who was the woman that came out that used to go run on the field and give players a kiss?
Morgana.
Morgana, that's it. I know. I keep thinking it was Morticia, but it was
That's
Morgana. Yeah, that's Morgana. I can imagine that she is putting on her lipstick and getting ready to go out there because Zach is going to make her relevant again. So
Listen, I have a bad picture now of Morgana at like 80 years old running out there and tripping over stuff, if you know what I mean. Just
I understand. So the Giants. Taylor is getting first team reps, or he might be getting first team reps. That's how it's in quotes, might get first team reps. I don't understand what that is. But Jones is going to remain the starter. Is there crying in Mudville? Is there some crying in Mudville?
Once you broach this situation as a coach, you've opened up the door for controversy, right? Jones is still my number one quarterback. But we're going to give Tyrod a few first string reps. Never a good sign for the starting quarterback in my mind.
I agree. I said this from the very, very beginning, that they didn't give Jones the vote of confidence, that he's going in there, and instead of having like the chip on his shoulder, he wants to play above his means. I can imagine it's going the opposite way. He just came across to me as that type of guy that it's just like, I don't want to play here anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just, he's the guy like that's just sulking in the corner type, and that his play is probably reflecting.
And this won't help that situation either. So,
right. Stafford's showing no limitations on throwing the football. So we'll see if that remains the same. Obviously, it's great when there's nobody coming out and touching you. We'll see if that changes as we get into closer to the season. And let's see. The Patriots place Malcolm Butler on season-ending IR. Malcolm Butler was the one guy who they sat in the Super Bowl that the Eagles won. He was one of those late that day of scratches. He wasn't actually scratchy, it was a DNP, and they thought that he could have been the big difference of that game.
We still don't know the whole story. Bill Belichick, and nobody's really told the whole story, but a lot of the New England Patriots were very unhappy with their coach that day, I can tell you. And again, whether it cost them the game or not is disputable, but The Eagles scored 41 points. I got to believe he could have helped a little bit. So,
Yeah, and the fact that after they scored 27 points, it's like that he didn't put him in even after that.
no. And he was there
Yeah.
on the sideline with his helmet on the entire time. And I kept saying, now. Because at the time, Malcolm Butler was still a good player. Malcolm Butler's not that player anymore. It was already bad news that he was going to be one of the starting cornerbacks this year. And now it gets worse. Right now, Terrence Mitchell will step up into that spot most likely. And Jalen Mills on the other side. Not good news in Patriot land and the defensive backfield.
Yeah, so, I mean, that means they got to rely more on Mills. And as much as I love the Green Goblin, he's just not the guy that's going to be able to really do it, unfortunately.
The strength here is and the safeties, and none of them are really proficient when you move them to the corner at all. Devin McCourty started out as a cornerback, and he was awful. And he moved to safety. He's probably a Hall of Fame safety in my mind, Devin McCourty. But at cornerback, he's scary. So they have to move these guys around. It's not going to be good.
Yep. So I mean, that's really it. It's everything else was just sort of blah 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 stuff.
Let's go to. Let me talk a couple notes in college football. An interesting note: Simon Fraser, and I didn't even know that there were colleges playing in the NCAA football in any way, shape, or form. But there are. Simon Fraser is a Division II football school, which is moving its 4 home games from Canada to the U.S. due to the COVID-19 restrictions that are still in place in Canada. So they'll play 4 of its home games across the border in Blaine, Washington. I don't know that they're.
I didn't realize there was Canadian.
They are the only school. They're only school in any. As far as I know, they're the only school in all of NCAA sports, any level, that plays in a U.S. league conference.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did not know this until today. So some interesting news. They play in the Great Northwestern Athletic Conference. So again, they're going to play their home games in the U.S. because of this situation.
You know what? So when you say that, that immediately brings up like North Dakota State University and South Dakota State University. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense to me now.
Yeah,
because they try to keep them fairly close, and it's probably closer than going down to like Washington State.
Yeah, excellent point. Very good point. And that's some good football too, by the way. People get wrapped up in the FBS division, which is obviously the top. But you watch some of these teams. North Dakota State put some really good football teams on the field. South Dakota State. There's some guys in the NFL that have been on a lot of these Division II football schools. So,
but Dallas Goedert, Carson Wentz. I mean, those are the 2 names that stick off off the top of my head. I believe Montana probably plays in that division.
Christian Walker, I think is his name. Was one of the Packers' first-round draft picks, I believe, is out of South Dakota State as well. He's expected to be a big contributor this year.
So I think of Division II is actually before they went to the playoffs. Division II was really the only undisputed national champion that was elected. That would happen in college football. So,
good point. Elsewhere, there's a major injury for Ohio State. Whether it'll impact them, I don't know. Evan Pryor, who is expected to step up at the running back position this year, is out for the year with a knee injury that leaves only 3 healthy scholarship running backs in Henderson Williams and incoming freshman Dalen Hayden are the only scholarship running backs in Ohio State. Whether it'll matter, I don't know. With CJ Stroud and the receivers that they keep throwing out there, it may not hurt them. The big thing in Ohio State is going to be the defense this year. So we'll see whether that ends up being a story. And in college sports, did I bring up the NIT yesterday? I don't think
you did not.
So the NIT, which has been, being played in New York City, except for 2 years, since 1938, I believe, and was, by the way, at one time the tournament in college basketball, not the NCAA tournament. It was the NIT, and it was still relevant well into the 70s, even as the NCAA tournament grew in stature. They are going to be moving out of New York City and away from Madison Square Garden for the semifinals and the finals. They're going to be going to Vegas in the next couple of years, and I think to where's the other spot that they were going to? Or Vegas and Indianapolis in the next 2 years. So big story, you know. It used to be the entire tournament was played at the Garden years ago, and then as it grew, it's really been irrelevant the last few years because only bad teams are there with all the teams that are.
Well, that was my next question. As the NCAA flirts with moving to an 80-team field for the tournament, what does that do to the NIT? And realistically, is it something that they should now make the NIT the play-in tournament?
Maybe.
That would be the way to go about that. That would be but how do you stop basketball happening from that amount of time? Like, do you try to get that in a week's time, saying, hey, we're going to have, you're going to have to be fast. We're going to have to get through this pretty quickly. That maybe making this field smaller, from 32 teams down to 16 teams, and putting the top, 64, you got to still come up with, 64 and 16 is 80. So, maybe that's what you do. You bring it down to all of these fringe teams. If you make it into the Sweet 16 of the NIT, that's where that ends. And then everybody goes to the NCAA. I don't know how they would really do that, but
if you're an old school fan like myself, I hate to see these traditional tournaments and the traditions of college sports especially go away. And listen, like I said, this was a very prestigious tournament even up until the 70s. Marquette once, I think 70 or 71, was the number one ranked team in the nation. And Al McGuire refused to go to the NCAA tournament because he didn't like his where they were sending him. And he said, I'm going to the NIT. They won the NIT, didn't win a national championship because they didn't go to the NCAA tournament. But at that point in time, teams would make a choice of which tournament to go to. It's shocking to think about that today. So kind of interesting news, I thought. A little bit of news in the NBA, which I'll just throw it out there. I don't know if you got some other news you can throw out. I'll throw this one story out there. The NBA has decided to avoid scheduling any regular seasons on Election Day because they feel that all the fans and players should be focused on voting that day, which I don't understand. I got plenty of time to vote and still go to an NBA game or watch an NBA game. The only people I can see that might be able to go is if some player who's on the road who didn't file an absentee ballot or something. I mean, what's this going to increase?
And if you're on a road trip, it ain't going to make a difference. You're not going to fly home to vote and then fly back out there again.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's so ridiculous. And again, the polls close at 7:00 most of the time, and that's when the games start. So whatever. I feel like that this is just more of. I don't want to get into politics. I really don't want to get into politics.
I don't either. But it's more political correctness.
So much of a mess that is being caused by this. This is I'm going to leave it be at that.
Well, I would expect the vote to increase by at least 10. That's 1-0.
I don't even expect it that much.
I was trying to be optimistic.
Yeah,
did you have anything in the NBA? That's about all I had.
Hey, I'm getting some rumblings that the Knicks and Jazz are talking about Mitchell again.
It has come up three-way. There was a three-way deal on the table. I'd heard something about here a few days back.
Yeah, and Jalen Harris was reinstated by the NBA, so he's going to be back with Toronto again after the drug suspension.
Actually, I do have a NBA story to talk to you about. In the Post yesterday, the New York Post, there was a story. There are rumors about Kevin Durant and the Sixers. Is there any scuttlebutt in Philadelphia about this story? And what do you hear?
Yes, there is some rumors going around, and it's one of those situations where they are to be able to do this trade. Maxey would have to be involved in it, and Philadelphia faithful feel really strong about Maxey. That it was one of those. We've had so many picks that did not pan out. To have one at 22 pan out so well and that this guy is he doesn't like to leave the gym. He's a budding superstar just because he puts in all of the work. And that the fact that they would have to lose him in the process of trying to get Durant has got Philadelphia Sixers fans torn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sports talk radio in Philly is saying, hey, we have the possibility of getting Kevin Durant. Maybe you just go and get Kevin Durant. That's kind of how you think about that. That's just, you go get him. Unfortunately, Maxey could be a great guy, and it'd be sad to see him go. However, Durant, they feel, would almost cement a championship here. You have Harden, Embiid, Durant all on the floor at the same time. That a championship could be waiting at the end of that rainbow.
Well, it certainly puts you in win now mode with both Harden and Durant on that team, as they're not spring chickens, right? And no animosity between Durant and Harden that I'm aware of. Harden's demands to get out of Brooklyn were all about Kyrie Irving, from my understanding.
Well, they have been practicing together. They have been practicing together. So it's been one of those things where it was all media fodder that Durant and Harden didn't get along very well. That this is a fraternity. You know what I mean? I saw a picture. Somebody got married. I think it was Green from Golden State, and that they had a picture of Green, Seth Curry, and LeBron all together showing off their rings, and that between them they have a dozen. That they all showed their 4 rings, all going like this, taking a picture, as Green winds up getting married. That's what I'm telling. As much as they, you heard about the bickering back and forth between Seth Curry and LeBron James when they're on the court. They don't really like each other. They don't like, he doesn't like bapping back and forth with Seth Curry. They're all friends. Right. I mean, it's a fraternity, and they don't care. It's like it's a business to them. Basketball is a business.
Very interesting for sure. We'll see what happens with Durant. He's got to go somewhere. He cannot return to Brooklyn. I don't see how that's even possibly feasible. Anything else in the NBA for you?
Nothing for me.
Let's touch real quick, because there are some games tonight before we wrap up. The WNBA playoffs get started tonight with the Liberty visiting Chicago. At 8 o'clock, Phoenix goes to Vegas. And then tomorrow, Dallas will visit Connecticut. Washington visits Seattle. And there's a little bit of controversy as they've changed the playoff format for this first round. And the Sky's GM, James Wade, has spoken up about it, because the better team gets 2 home games, or it's 3-game series. But they get the first 2 home games, and the third deciding game would be played on the road at the worst team's court, which really makes 0 sense to me. You play all year to get home court advantage. And I know they're trying to cut down on travel and things like that, but this does not seem like a smart way to go about this, to reward teams that had the better regular season record.
So would you go the opposite way? Would you do 1 game in the, best of 3? Would you do 1 game at the? So I don't understand how. Maybe just do all 3 games at the. Just do it like the wild card game for baseball.
Given, as you and I talked about the other day, that 8 out of 12 teams are making the playoffs, and there's teams with records of 14 and 20 or whatever, they can play all their games on the road in the first round. I'd be okay with that. Your incentive would be to be better in the regular season. So I don't have a problem with that. Like the Major League Baseball, as you said, with the wild card round, is all now in the better teams, better records home field. So
right.
I'd be okay with that. So anyway, just thought I'd touch on that quickly before we wrap up, as we're a little bit over on the clock. We're not over on our hour, but we're
right. It nobody notices. Everybody's fine. We didn't go off on the Roku channel, so we are in great shape here. Obviously, and there's going to be some talk about obviously World Series baseball. Our World Series, Little League World Series starts today. I have a boxing thing to talk about, coming up here this weekend that we could tease right now as well. So there's lots happening in the world of sports. We'll just get ready to talk about it tomorrow.
And we'll be back here at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be joined again by the Philly Sports Guy, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. with Start It Up right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Have a great Wednesday, guys. See you later.